How about this new one they have, their new star, Crockett? How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man, oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
All right, so that's Jasmine Crockett for U.S. Senate. Basically, Jasmine Crockett is being gerrymandered out of her district since the Supreme Court has basically given Texas the go-ahead to be able to change those districts up, if you will. So she's running for the Senate. I don't think she'll win, but you never know. But it's Texas, so I doubt that she'll win. But let's just react to this video real quick because that's absolute nonsense, and it encompasses Jasmine Crockett in a nutshell, in my opinion. Listen to what that video did or what that ad did. That ad wants to make you mad. Trump is a racist, right? Trump is a bad guy. So the ad is intended to make you believe that Trump is a racist. Trump is a bad guy. This is the way that he talks about black women because she wants to be able to get the black vote. You know what that ad didn't have? It didn't have any answers. It didn't have any solutions because she's not a serious candidate. She's not a serious person in the House. She's not going to be a serious person in the Senate. God forbid she wins. And I don't believe that she'll win. But having said that, this lady is absolutely full of herself. That's what you saw in that ad. No answers, no solutions, nothing. All she has to offer is Trump is a racist. You should be mad. You should vote for me. But I'm not saying anything because I have nothing to offer. All right, let's move on. Let's go on to clip number 4. This is Dr. Oz. I want to go back to the lessons of the Minnesota fraud scandal that keeps blowing up. I mean, every day you're hearing more stuff where it gets worse and worse and worse. And I don't think that we should go away from this. But I read a column in the Wall Street Journal by Kimberly Strassel. And I want to go through some of this column with you because I think this is absolutely brilliant. It sheds a new light on the way that Republicans and or conservatives should tackle this Minnesota fraud scandal beyond the immigration issue, but it is an immigration issue as well. But I do think that Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal offers a great alternative. Now, she mentions the point that I'm getting ready to take on as an alternative. I don't think it should be an alternative. I think it should be an immigration issue and a fraud issue. But I want to break down what she talks about and how we can bring about welfare reform or use this situation, use this case or everything that's blowing up in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Ilhan Omar's district to fight for some welfare reform. And I think it is a brilliant idea. So we'll get into that. But first, I want to play a video clip for you. This is Dr. Mehmet Oz. If we could go to clip number 4, por favor, Gabe.
It's true. A Somali fraud ring in Minnesota stole over $1 billion from Medicaid. How did this happen? Well, Medicaid programs are run by the states, which in Minnesota means the Tim Walz administration. Governor Walz and the state's other Democrats rely on Somali votes to get elected, so they decided to look the other way because they were afraid of, quote-unquote, political backlash. Don't take my word for it. That's what a Somali-American fraud investigator told the New York Times. When these scammers realized that nobody was guarding the cash register, they went gangbusters. One program designed to provide housing stabilization assistance to patients ballooned to $104 million, when 4 years ago it was projected to cost only $2.6 million. Some of these taxpayer funds may have even ended up in the hands of a Somalian terrorist group. Scary stuff. When CMS became aware of the housing program situation, Minnesota insisted it could clean up its own mess. A few months ago, it admitted it could not. So we stepped in to shut down the fraud-infested housing initiative. Today, we're taking action on more than a dozen other programs, which I've outlined in the post below. Our message to Walz is clear. Either fix this in 60 days or start looking under your couch for spare change, because we are done footing the bill for your incompetence. This administration will never stop fighting to protect the vulnerable Americans who rely on these programs and the taxpayers who fund them. We're going to crush waste, fraud, and abuse.
All right, so I love that video, right, Dr. Oz. And listen, this should lead to a loss. You know, Governor Tim Walz is running for a third term in Minnesota. this should lead to a loss, but I'm not convinced that it will necessarily, unless the Department of Justice, literally put all of their investigative tools on this particular case, get down to the nitty gritty. I suspect that there are a lot more people that are complicit and or involved in this particular case. And I don't know for sure. This is pure speculation, but you have Ilhan Omar that was virtually worth nothing that is now worth tens of millions of dollars. How does this happen? How does this continue to happen? You get an ingrate like that that was literally blessed to be able to come into this country. She hates this country. She comes from virtually nowhere. She doesn't have much. She gets into Congress. Now she's worth tens of millions of dollars. How does this happen? Oh, man. And then we've got this scandal where there's estimates. And again, this has not been confirmed, but there's estimates that the fraud could reach upwards of $8 billion. And you're talking about in her congressional district. This is absolutely insane. All right. So here's what Kimberly Strassel offered. And I'll play another clip for you momentarily here if I remember. But the lesson of Minnesota's fraud. And I just want to read some of this to you because I think, listen, there's no doubt about it. You see a lot of people that are coming into this country, including Somalis. And I don't believe that all of the Somalis and Somalians in that area are bad people. And obviously not everyone is involved. But the vast majority of people that are involved in this scandal, 75-80% of them were the Somalians. All right. I mean, that's just insane. So I want anyone that's illegal, I want them to go bye-bye. Anyone that participated in this scandal should be locked up to the fullest degree. There were people getting rich enough to buy fancy cars and homes and even properties outside of the country. That is absolutely insane. All right. So I do believe, listen, there's some people here that are going to come here, milk the system, not assimilate. Sadly, that seems to be the case with many people within Ilhan Omar's district that happen to be Somalian or of Somalian origin. Sadly, that's the case. And I'm sorry if you're coming to the United States to milk the system instead of to work for the American dream and take advantage of the opportunity out here in the United States of America. I don't want you here. That's not racist. I mean, you can look at people like I was listening to a gentleman earlier on the radio that happens to be Vietnamese, and Vietnamese people do very well inside of the United States when they immigrate legally. Nigerians do very well inside of the United States that immigrate legally. And I'm talking about financially and all that stuff. They want the American dream. That's what they work for. When it comes to this Somalian population inside of Minnesota, that isn't the case for the vast majority of them, especially since Somalia has been a war-torn country since I believe it was 1991, if I'm not mistaken. So many of the people that come to the United States, whether it be refugee status or whatever it may be, they're not the brightest people, for one. And they're not people that necessarily want to get ahead. They're people that are used to war. They're used to corruption. And that's the system they know. And they flock to Minnesota. They flock to this particular district because they know that it's basically a safe haven for people to come here and just get benefits from American citizens. That is insane. So this is what Kimberly Strassel recommends. She starts off by saying this: Republicans in recent years were handed the gift of California, that collapsing paragon of climate virtue, she writes, an excellent argument for the GOP's own better energy agenda. And you see President Trump doing that with the CAFE standards, relaxing CAFE standards. So now you can build cars that'll be fuel efficient, not necessarily light. We're not going to buy into all this green energy nonsense. So the cars will be safer. They will be less expensive, and you can make these cars. And as a matter of fact, in 2012 and 13, they were making great cars that kind of offered the best of both worlds. And obviously, with these CAFE standards, they just started going further and further and further green, making cars unaffordable. And the goal was to get you out of the car because the left doesn't want you to have freedom. And a vehicle represents freedom. Public transportation, not necessarily. But a car, a vehicle of your own, represents freedom. The left can't have that. So in the same way, what Kimberly Strassel is arguing, that was that climate change, that virtue signaling has become a gift to the Republican Party, because now we can say, look at California, look at the disaster that they are. They're virtue signaling all over the place. Everything is green, except that they were literally importing, I believe it was crude oil from China, like shipping stuff all the way across the Pacific. It's absolutely insane, doing more damage to the planet, if you believe in that, than rather than just getting their supply right here in the United States. I mean, just the craziest thing ever. But in the same way, the present this year is Minnesota for Republicans. She says if the party has the wits to seize on the moral of the state's epic fraud story, America's welfare system is irredeemably broken. So the story when it comes to Minneapolis, Minnesota, it isn't just assimilation. It isn't just immigration. It isn't just that issue. We should make this a welfare fraud issue. There are plenty of people that need and perhaps even deserve welfare for a temporary period of time that aren't getting it because fraudsters like this do. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here for MyPillow. A major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. Now it's your game. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. You get the standard MyPillow for just $17.98. If you want more, upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for just $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call 800-858-0263. All right. Plus, when you order totals $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts. No strings attached. That's right. Premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it all off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com right now or call 800-858-0263. And don't forget to use the promo code Carl, CARL, to grab your standard MyPillow for just $17.98. That is insane. Can't beat that with a bat.
xildhibaan ilhaan cumar oo magaca Soomaaliya qalin dahab ah ku qortay. qadiyadda ilhaan ma aha qadiyad ilhaan, ma aha qadiyad Minnesota, ma aha qadiyad reer Maraykan. qadiyadda ilhaan waa qadiyad Soomaaliyeed. guusha ilhaan waa guusha Soomaaliyeed, waxayna noo ximbaarsan tahay macno weyn. aniga oo ku hadlaya magaca dadka Soomaaliyeed oo dhan meel walba ay joogaan, waxaan idinka codsanayaa inaad hiil iyo hool la garab istaagtaan, ku taageertaan codkiinna, dariskiinna, saaxiibadiin, cid walba ood garanaysaanna aad u sheegtaan inay soo baxaan si ay ilhaan ugu codeeyaan, albaab walbana aad u garaacdaan sidii dib loogu dooran lahaa. ballanteennu waa maxay? ballanteennu waa inaad garab iyo gaashaan u noqotaan xildhibaan ilhaan, oo aad mar kale dibi doorataan idinkoo isku duuban oo ul iyo diira. mar kale mahadsanidin. allah idin barakeeyo. Soomaaliya ha noolaato.
For those of you, listen, you've got to watch this on the podcast. You've got to watch this on YouTube or Rumble or Spotify, where you can check out the video. If you're just listening to the audio, obviously I can't interpret that, but basically you have the former president of Somalia saying that the interests of Ilhan Omar, I'm quoting, are not the interests of Minnesota, nor is it the interest of Americans. The interest of Ilhan is that of the Somalian people and Somalia. All right, and he encourages people to give to Ilhan Omar's campaign. But again, you want to watch the video. It's insane. I thought they were in Somalia for a second. No, it's her campaign in the state of Minnesota. This lady is not, for all intents and purposes, she is not American. She does not like this country. She can't stand this country, but she financially rapes this country. Excuse my language. That's exactly what she does. She's now a multi-millionaire. I listen, I will not be shocked at all if she is somehow wrapped up in this scandal. How do you get literally billions of dollars funneled to a bunch of people that are involved with fraud in your district, and in fact, one of your campaign staffers, and someone whose restaurant you would go to for campaign events that's involved as well, milking the system for millions of dollars, and somehow it doesn't touch you. It makes no sense whatsoever. And so this is why I like what Kimberly Strassel is saying. This is also an issue. We can talk about assimilation, and that's fine. I think President Trump obviously should deal with that. Any illegal immigrants that are in that area, I don't care where they're from, particularly if they're involved in any type of crime, including the fraud, then they need to go bye-bye. But we need to make this an issue about welfare too, because this is absolutely massive. The system needs to be changed so that people cannot just milk the system. And you saw how easy it obviously was to do. So Kimberly Strassel goes on, the Minnesota story in which Somali fraudsters bilked taxpayers out of more than $1 billion. And again, I'm hearing rumors it could be upwards of $8 billion or so, has many ugly storylines to choose from. She says it's a parable of failed assimilation. And obviously, if you watch the video, that's what you just saw. You think Ilhan Omar wants to assimilate into the United States when she's sitting there smiling and, other people clapping like seals when this former prime minister says the interest of Ilhan Omar are not the interests of the American people? Then why is she in the United States Congress? I mean, this is just absolutely insane. Also, the need for policies that heat the melting pot. Are they trying to assimilate? This is again a story of an argument of assimilation. A lot of people on the left don't like the term melting pot. I love it because this is the only way this experiment works. You can come from wherever you want to come from. You can keep your subculture, teach your family, all that kind of stuff. But your main culture is the American culture. You become an American. So yes, my origin is from this place. Yes, I love certain restaurants. I love bringing my family, cousins, or whoever it may be. I love this little town that has I get all that, but you have to become American. You're an American first. That's the only way this system works. Otherwise, communists, Marxist, socialists are going to be able to come in and divide us amongst, class, race, and that's exactly what the left is doing. Another issue, it's a warning of identity politics. Obviously, because listen, if you recall who said it earlier, I believe it was Dr. Oz. Basically, you had Governor Tim Walz, likely the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, just turned a blind eye. There's no way they don't know about this stuff. There's no way. It's insane. The people, the Somalis inside of their district just happen to be just living large. So many of them. It's a scandal of identity politics and fraudsters using minority-owned status to cash in and crying racism to evade scrutiny. And that's what happens. You get a bunch of woke liberals. They don't want to call people out because they happen to be black. She also says it's a scandal of politicians who look the other way. I mentioned that. So Trump, for his part, basically he's looking at the ingrates, the ungrateful Somali immigrants. So he's paused immigration applications from 19 countries. You guys might recall that. He did that last week. He's ramped up immigration enforcement operations in that area. But I think he needs to be, she argues this might excite the base, but it's diverting attention from a far better policy opportunity. And she may be right in the long run. I feel like it's both. Honestly, I feel like we need to hit immigration as hard. She thinks we need to hit. She thinks we need to start hitting welfare fraud and make this an issue. She says because at the root, this story is this is a story, of broken welfare. A federal government that shovels more than $1 trillion annually. Listen to that, $1 trillion annually into more than 80 major anti-poverty programs. So 80 major anti-poverty programs. Do we know if those programs are legit? Look at everything that we discovered with Doge. All of these organizations, all of these NGOs that were just stealing money, siphoning money, federal dollars or whatever, and using them for their purposes, just absolutely insane. Even some of George Soros's little pop-ups, if you will, NGOs that he started, basically with government seed money, or he was started out and then get more government money in order to run his operations. Just absolutely insane. So 80 major anti-poverty programs, and countless minor ones, she writes as well. I mean, the system is just too complex. You can't follow it. You can't make sure that there's integrity in and out of the system. She also mentions, and we also have and of a state that preened as a motto of social welfare. All right, so basically, Minnesota, what Tim Walz and all these people say, listen, this is like a European social welfare program. That doesn't work here in the United States. We're not a socialist country. That's not what we're about, and we need to fight back. We need to fight back. I mean, this is insane. Many of these programs, in my opinion, are being used to obviously get some people rich, keep some people in power, but actually keep a lot of people poor. She says the U.S. welfare debate has long centered on the failed outcomes of overly generous government programs, the long-term dependency and loss of dignity, the discouragement of work, the damage of family structure, and that's what it does. It does all of these things. We've had many rounds of this discussion, from fallout over the New Deal and the Great Society to welfare queens in the 1990s. She writes, today's vast outlays and failing labor force participation rates are proof that the failure is becoming deeper. So according to the Center for Immigration Studies, the share of U.S.-born working age men that are not working in the labor force was about 11% in 1960. Today, it's 22%. Minnesota rates, she says, raises to alarm level a separate need for reset. How do you separate the wheat from the slime? She writes, amid millions of overlapping self-attested applications for SNAP, WIC, unemployment insurance, EITC. I don't even know what that is. LIHEAP, CHIP, TAMP, Medicaid, Health, Head Start, Pell Grants, public housing, rental assistance, legal services, adoption subsidies, adult education. You get the point. There are so many programs that are being set up. Set up by whom? Set up for what purposes? What purposes are they serving? Are these honest? Are they legit? Are the people running them honest or legit? Are they skimming from the top? I suspect so. You have this much fraud in one place that literally all the local government had to do is, we're not touching it. We're not being branded racist. We need these votes from these immigrants that have come into this country. We're so dependent on the votes from these immigrants. We're not going to say anything, despite the fact that they are robbing the system blind. This is absolutely insane. So she makes a good argument, I must admit. All right, we can focus on, I think we can do both, right? I think we can do both in this particular case. But I don't think it's a bad idea to maybe shift a little more of the focus to welfare fraud and curing it, not just in Minnesota and Minneapolis, but all across the country.